English Coach Podcast, living the language aspect of it, part of the name, has to do with something I'm trying to encourage my learners of English to do. They take part in, for example, language courses, and at the end of the courses, nobody gives them any kind of tips as to how to hold on to the things that they've learned.
Yeah, true.
And what I'm trying to do with this show is to give people the opportunity to explore their passions for all sorts of things, normal things, cooking, photography, sports, plants and animals, whatever it is they want to talk about, such that the language learning doesn't feel like work. You were saying to me earlier that you've also had this kind of immersive experience when you were learning German.
Yeah, definitely. So this was back in 2011. That's when I started learning German back in Mumbai, I must say. Learn the quick, let's say, quick wins that you can get with LinkedIn. Do your research of the country that you're trying to go to. Understand the culture. Understand what is needed. What are the tax laws as well? Because people don't realize that you pay around 42% of tax in Germany, which is not the same tax that you pay back home. And there are also different ways, which I don't want to get into this on this lovely show of yours. So try to make sure that you've got almost every angle covered, because the more you prepare yourself, the better you get and the better your chances are. Speak with people who've already been abroad.
It's always been pretty personal, this show. One man, one mission. And as I always say, with a small win is always a good way to begin. Hello, my name is iAntonio Patterson, and I want to welcome you again to another self-sponsored independent episode of the English Coach Podcast. Living the language means that my goal is to keep you engaged with a little information and entertainment, to help you to keep the language skills you've learned in a fun and interesting way. Immersion into the language with purpose, real interests, real things, and real personalities from wherever you are. So what's in it for you, you might ask? Maybe everything and nothing. Still, this episode was produced primarily with the wonderful resonance that the show has been enjoying from India in mind. It could be helpful for anyone toying with the idea of attempting to pursue an international career in Europe. Our esteemed guest for today is an Indian national, digital marketer, engineer, and a past consultant for Google. Work, life, and language as a qualified, experienced, and gainfully employed foreigner in Germany is today's topic, as well as insight into an idea that has been occupying my thoughts a lot of late, that of digital identity. So then, in keeping with my usual relaxed, accessible, human approach to your learning experience, without further ado, our guest for today, my friend Aki. I don't know if you did I ever mention? I was a quantity surveyor. You should know what a quantity surveyor is as a member of the Commonwealth. Yeah. Building costing and so on. I did that first, and then I did came to Germany. Well, after studying and working for a few years, came here, and I did international business administration. I also did master level studies in leadership for sustainability, and after all of that, I've still decided to train people, because this is actually where my calling lies, and this kind of feel good kind of thing, this kind of contact is really a place that that makes me feel good,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hats off to you, because you're following something that you believe in, makes you happy. And it's not always, I understand, because I've had this discussion with several people. And to be honest, I was also one of them saying that, hey, I need to look after my career. I need to look at money. I need to look at X, Y, Z, like, achievements in life. But let's put it this way. After the age of 32, you understand, what you really require.
Yes.
How you want to achieve it, and money is not the ultimate goal.
Exactly. It is definitely the feel kind of thing. I mean, after the age of 32, you kind of have a sense of proportion as well.
Exactly.
The dreaming or let's say I'm gonna say the unrealistic dreaming kind of slows down a little bit after
Yeah.
32, and you kind of know yourself a little more. You know where your strengths are, and
True.
you're also well
It's
aware of the sacrifices that you might have already made unwittingly.
Yeah, it's not like how they show in the movies. I mean, I watched a lot of Hollywood movies, and most of the movies are like this American dream. Like, you need to do X, Y, Z. You need to be. Let's put it in the other movie that we all know, Slumdog Millionaire.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, not everyone is as successful or is as lucky. Let me put it, because luck also, plays a big role.
Of
I was
course.
fortunate enough, after working in a few different companies, and then worked for Accenture, and I directly was working for Google, thanks to Accenture, of course.
Fantastic.
And I tried my level best to come to Germany. Before that, it never happened. We had some financial crisis. Everyone has their own story. I'm not here to brag about my stuff, but
You
I
can
also
you can
want
brag.
to. No.
You can share. You can share. You
Yeah,
can share.
I would love to share the story, saying that don't give up on your hope, because I didn't. And somehow, I had at least 60, 70 interviews where I was rejected, giving all of them from India. And then one fine day it happened. And I know my mom and I, we were the only two ones. My sister had no clue. And I was so happy the day I saw that email, because I've been preparing, and my mom, was praying every day. And it was quite, let's say, emotional as well when I saw the email. And I was like, oh wow. I wanted to go to Germany because I thought I could get let's say, the shift internally from Google. And they were like, no, you need to have, say, the C1 level. And of course, even today, I don't have the C1 level. Hopefully someday I will be able to speak fluently.
Well, you are immersed.
Yeah, and the thing is not giving up, right? If you have a dream, follow through. One door closes, the other one opens up. But also, I've learned it now through, the last few months since the pandemic, to let go. And eventually, the universe has its plan. You don't have to force the universe to come to you. The universe wants to come to you. You just need to open your arms and keep your eyes open as well for the opportunities that are coming your way. Don't force yourself.
I sense a spirituality,
Definitely.
which is definitely something I can also relate to. I mean, sometimes I toy with the idea of mindfulness. I try to be mindful of mindfulness sometimes, and sometimes I even, I'm well aware of deeper intuitions that I have. I don't really see it as anything so, but mystical. I mean, anything that we don't understand fully. It seems like magic, and I am well aware of the fact that we don't understand everything yet. So, that means probably it does exist. We just don't know how to fit it into our worldviews yet. But I don't want to, before we go into the kind of thing, because we can drift into that.
Yeah.
Speaking of dreams, we were talking about the Hollywood models. Speaking of dreams, yes, I mean, I also had my dreams in Jamaica. I wanted to come to Germany because I wanted to come to Europe. I wanted to learn. There were certain things I wanted to experience for myself. I applied for about 3 years until one university accepted me. And I remember telling my friends there, and they said, "You're going to Germany?" And they said, "You're crazy. Why are you going to Germany?" And then I said, "Yes, I'm going." After 2 years, they said, "Okay, fine. If you're going, do not go to East." That's what they said. That's what they said. And the university that was generous enough to accept me was in Frankfurt Oder, Viadrina,
wow.
sitting on the eastern border. I could throw a stone into Poland.
It does not get more east than that.
And I
does
mean,
it?
well, I mean, it was funny. I mean, the joke is still funny years and years after, but it was a wonderful experience. I mean, there were some challenges, but for the most part, it was a wonderful experience, and one that I would do again, albeit probably a little differently, but I'd do it again. Now, the dreams and these things. One of the reasons why I really did invite you here, 2 questions. Your family, you spoke about your family, your mother being a teacher. You spoke about the fascination you had with the effect that she had on children. And then we went into, the idea of dreams and so on. You wanted to come here to work. You've worked at Google. I'm very impressed by
as a
that.
consultant, not as an employee.
As a consultant, well, it means they had good reason to pay you, sir. And that is good enough reason to have due respect. I do appreciate that. your decision to come here. You're here now, you're working. And one of the questions I had was having to do with your life and experience. What is it like being a foreigner? You are an Indian national working in Germany. And I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not going to try to frame this in any way. I just want you to tell me what it's like. Why? Because there are a lot of people still like you in India, maybe thinking, hoping, dreaming probably to work here, or maybe Denmark, or maybe the UK, as we Commonwealth people like to think about, and or wherever it is, maybe France, somewhere else, doesn't have to be the UK or America. True. What is it like, just for people who are thinking about following a similar path?
So in one word, if I had to put it, it's not easy. I mean, okay, it's not one word, but it's a few words. It's not easy. But once you're on the journey, it's the journey that counts, and it's not like the end result, right? It's always the journey and not the end result. Because once you take that one step saying that, hey, I'm leaving my country, I'm leaving everything behind, it's a very daring situation to be in. When I came to this country, I just had, I think, 900 euros or 950 euros in my pocket, which, of course, I had to also sell my own life insurance back home. And that's how I got the money. A couple of friends also helped me out. And when I came here, you won't believe it, the first month was really, really tough because I had enough money for the caution, the advance,
security advance
the
for
security
rent
deposit. And I had to pay up 1 month's rent. And that left me with, I think, so around 100, 150 euros, which kind of got over in the first month, even before. And the last couple of days, the way I lived was just drinking water, nothing else.
You drank water?
For 2 days.
Oh my God. I had apples and Coca-Cola.
And, it never struck me, to be honest, to actually take some food from the office. We did have a stocked fridge.
Yeah, being the
and
honest, soulful person
I'm not
that you
gonna do
are.
That. I don't want people to have a bad notion, because people don't see you as a person. People always see you as a nationality.
Yeah, that's a kind of sad thing. I mean, there are pluses and minuses to that, and I mean, we don't have to go into the darkness of these kind of stereotyping.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It is.
I thought
everywhere.
it was just like in a couple of countries, but it's everywhere.
It is everywhere, and that was also one of the first things that I learned as well when I got here. I mean, I wanted to ask you how it made you feel when you got here, because I landed at Tegel, went to Zoologischer Garten, or Zoologischer Garten, and that was the first time I saw white people, street people, white people, coming from the Commonwealth. You know how it is, the colonialists are not usually the ones living on the street.
True.
And that was the first shock I had when I went to Zoologischer Garten. There were lots of street people, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And it's just one of these things. In retrospect, of course, it seemed silly to think that, a white person could be living on the street, but that was the first shock that I had. Yeah. So how did it make you feel when you first landed or came in?
I mean, my heart was racing, to be honest, when I stepped off the plane, and I also got off at Tegel. And that's when I was like, oh God, just give me strength. I need to reach this destination that I have for 7 days because I didn't have an apartment. I got kind of scammed, I would say.
You were scammed?
Not exactly, but the Airbnb didn't happen. And then just 2 nights before I flew, I got a lovely a room situation with these Israeli boys, which I'm super, super grateful and thankful to. And I've kept in touch with them via Facebook. Very nice guys. They even trusted me to pick up the key on my first day from the restaurant opposite to their house. And all I had to do is just say my name. And the guy was like, you're Akshay, right? Yeah, this is the key. And I was like, where's the apartment? They was like, yeah, just cross the road. It's on the first floor. Room, the key turns to the right. Make sure that, you don't get it stuck in. And I was like, you trust me with the key and there's nobody home? They were like, yeah, no, nobody's at home. Both of them are outside. I was like, oh my God, this would never happen back home in India. Never.
Yes.
It's so difficult, and I was like, oh wow, this is something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good first feeling
That's
to
a good
have.
first feeling,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. There was a second first feeling I had actually. Second first feeling. Oh my God. Yeah. On the train from Berlin to Frankfurt Oder, I remember being so afraid that I didn't feel anything anymore.
You just froze.
I didn't feel anything. As I was just like, I just, like when you say let go, yes, the train was, I imagine, you just imagine this train is in the darkness, yeah, going further east into nothing, yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I was so afraid that I honestly didn't feel anything anymore. British Airways had lost my luggage.
Oh wow.
And by the time I got it back, I don't know, 3 or 4 days afterwards in Frankfurt Oder, it was about a month afterwards that I recognized that some things were, well, missing. But, it's just one of those things.
But when did you, or let's put it this way, which month or which season did you arrive in?
November.
Okay, that's even more depressing.
It was
arrive
really
in November.
bad. It was really bad.
Yeah. I at least arrived in June, and that's also, I think so, in the first week itself, I asked my teammate, I was like, why the hell are there no fans? And they were like, man, you're in Germany, there are no fans out here. And I was like, what about the air conditioning? It's like, are you kidding me? Excuse me. Are you kidding me? And I was like, oh, okay. So they figured out everything except the fans.
You don't need fans, man. You don't need umbrellas. I don't see anyone using umbrellas in the sun here either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, you know how it is when it becomes springtime.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
it's crazy.
Yeah. So, okay, we spoke about how you feel, but how about the career-wise, because you came here as a qualified individual.
Yep.
Yes, and you started a new job, and well, you got this job from home. So they took you in, of course, based on the qualifications you had already had.
True.
Yes, and experience also with Google, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say that was a game changer for me. And to everyone listening out there, I know it might not sound so great to hear this, but if you do work for a reputed company, that really counts, especially if you're trying for jobs abroad. And this is flat out me saying it because I've gone through it. And I worked for like really good companies back home as well. But given that experience, I don't see it happening. But working for a company like Accenture, or then working for Google, like, the bigger consultancy firms, or working for Oracle, like you have, let's say, better chances. I would put it that way, in a much more subtle way. You have better chances to get a job abroad, or to even have internal shifts, given the remote working is kind of working now.
Oh, yes, it is
super
working.
happy about it.
Me too.
And this year, not this year, but I was back in India since end of November, and then I flew back mid-Jan. So I was super happy that my current company was also able to allow me to work from home. And yeah, I feel that was one of the best things I've had till date. And they would still allow me to like work for another couple of months as well if I need to.
Yeah. Okay, you're here, and I'll say it again. I'm doing this, quite honestly, I'm doing it because I noticed that there's a lot of listenership. There is a significant rise in listenership in India. And, I thought of you at the time. And one of the reasons as well why you're here, because I'm really doing this for learners and also, young people coming up, also for some older people. But there are two groups of people specifically that I would ask you to probably help. The person looking to study in Germany,
All right.
and the person looking to probably work based on experiences similar to yours.
All right,
what would you advise them?
So let's start with the students. I know in the last couple of years, there has been a good influx, I would say, of Indian students getting these scholarships, from India. And if I'm not correct, because I didn't go through this process, I think it is DAAD, which also helps you. So this
Yes.
thing called DAD.
DAD, I know it. I know of it.
Which helps students to kind of relocate, to also understand the educational programs, what can be offered. Do they really need to learn German? Can they get everything done in English, which is also very important for Indians because, I mean, right off the bat, it's not possible for somebody to come in another country and then, also go to university, learn the language while they're going to university because they need to be at par with the students out there. So, student wise, I think do your preparation well, try to find out the universities that you need to apply to, and make sure you have at least 1 year's time. So do it 1 year before you want to come to Germany. Make sure you have all your documentation in place, because remember, you're coming to a country that loves documents.
Oh yes.
They would be super happy if you gave them 10 extra documents, which is not on the list, because they can choose from there. And trust me, and this might sound a bit weird, but it's not. When you arrive in the country, you'll understand.
Yes, that's true. Actually, there are possibilities to study in English, but those are usually the private universities, or if you're studying something like international business that's offered in English.
Okay.
But then after I think 2 years or so, you have to present, successful German exam, which
Okay.
was also one of the challenges that I had in Frankfurt Oder.
But that would be more or less the B1 level, right? Or maybe B2, like
Yeah,
B1,
I think it's
B2?
called Uniseat. I don't know what it's called anymore. I
Okay.
mean, that's no longer a stress in my life, but it's
Thank God.
something that you have to do. But then, in terms of the person looking to, I mean, yeah, they're like master's level students. People come
Yeah.
here to study.
True.
And a lot of that is also done in English. But that was for the student. The worker, the person who intends to work, it doesn't have to be Germany, in Europe, from your part of the world. What would you suggest, that they do in preparation for this kind of
Yeah.
culture shock, even in Europe?
True. It's this is a very good point that you brought up, because back home we have a different perspective of the world that's outside India, and most of it actually lies in the way the news is portraying other countries. It's just how you see India on the news. It's the same way how we see what's going on in the US or what's going on in Europe. It's very rarely that you would see the nicer things spoken about on the news, because nowadays news is more negative and less positive.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, coming back to the topic, I don't want to sway away. For people who are trying to make it, I would suggest working on your resume. And in India, I know we have this thing where we like to put in a lot of details, and I've been helping a lot of my friends to also come here, and one of my friends has already made it out here, so thank God. But I told him the first thing that he needed to work on was his resume, because it should not be more than 2 pages. It should have just the right amount of information. I would say more or less 3 bullet points for every job that you've done and what value you've brought. Because if you don't show what value you've brought in that job profile, you're just another person or just another candidate. And make sure you have those keywords, as they say, when you're applying for a job on LinkedIn. Because if they say, hey, we're looking for people who have X, Y, and Z, and if X, Y, and Z is not put in your resume, then most likely you won't even beat the AI that actually segregates the CVs, the resumes. So make sure you're up to technology, right? Learn the quick wins that you can get with LinkedIn. Do your research of the country that you're trying to go to. Understand the culture. Understand what is needed. What are the tax laws as well? Because people don't realize that you pay around 42% of tax in Germany, which is not the same tax that you pay back home. And there are also different ways, which I don't want to get into this on this lovely show of yours. So try to make sure that you've got almost every angle covered, because the more you prepare yourself, the better you get and the better your chances are. Speak with people who've already been abroad. Ask them how they are getting along. How did they go about with their first process? And please do not give up hope just because you failed in the first 3 or 4 interviews. I failed around 60 interviews before I actually got a job. Again, I'm telling you, I'm not joking. It's actually 64 or 66. I don't quite remember, but it's around the 60s. So I'll stick to the number 60, and it was quite disappointing because it took me almost a year, or maybe a year and 2 months, after which I got a job. So it's not easy, but once you get it.
Understood, understood. I appreciate it. I mean, this fulfillment you live every day, this
Yeah.
sense of fulfillment. It's good that you don't forget these things, where you're coming from, and, always be grateful.
True.
I've also had some difficulties, finding jobs and so on, but, we just stick to the point because, I mean, I just really want to offer some kind of assistance to people. I was hoping to hear also something about the culture shock, the difference in, for example, the perception of time, the different perception
Oh,
of time in,
that
in, in,
was
in, in
yeah.
Germany. And, you said, I
Oh
don't want
my
to cut you,
gosh.
I don't want to cut you, because you said a minute ago, you have to give lots of,
Yeah.
lots of documents, but
Yeah.
not lots of details. I agree with you. Many documents, but not too many details.
Yeah.
Stick to the point. Be very straightforward,
Yeah.
because a 3-page CV is actually probably even too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually the way I've seen it, and personally also, like, going through so many CVs in the last few years, helping like I also worked at Zalando, so we had to also scan through CVs when we were trying to hire someone for our team. And it's also a bit challenging when you have too much of information. So if you have less than 5 years of experience, more or less, it should be a one pager. If you have 5 or 7, like, plus years of experience, then it should be 2 pages. But make sure you at least mention that what languages you speak. And please refrain from putting local languages that are spoken in the country. If you know European languages, that really helps. So English, of course, is a European language, but is also one of the local languages back home in India. And make sure that, if you can go for some classes, like already start preparing for, like, A1 level German. It's not that difficult. And for anyone who's living in India, and, like, quite frankly, I'm pretty sure everyone might be speaking at least 2 or 3 languages at home. I grew up in a multicultural, like, home, so I could speak Hindi, Marathi, Bengali. I can understand Konkani from my mom's side. English, of course, was our mother tongue, is our mother tongue, and now German as an international language. So yeah, all these count. But
Yeah.
I always named only English and German on my CV, not the rest.
Well, I mean, that's the cultural aspect that
Yep.
I wanted you to talk about. I really appreciate it. I don't want to stretch that too much. However, your job, Aki, there's a second question coming up.
Okay.
And I know you as, well, I'm just gonna give some keywords, right? And please correct me. The
All right.
keywords that I have are computer science and networking.
Very
Is
close.
that close?
Very close. So
It's very close. Yes.
very close. Very close.
Tell us about what it is you do, because the next question is coming is gonna be on something that I've been thinking a lot about these days, called digital identity.
All right. Cool. We'll definitely touch on that. So, not computer science. If I was, let's say, into development, software development, then more or less I would require computer science. Although I did pass out with an engineering degree, which is electronics and telecom. Unfortunately, it was during the recession time, and never managed to land a job in electronics telecom. And that's how I got into digital marketing. Because one of my friends told me, hey, you're so good with the computers and you can really find stuff online. Why don't you join our company? And I was like, are there jobs for this?
Digital marketing.
And this was back in 2009. Like, the recession just hit in 2008, and it was really bad. We all passed out, and, like, few of us had jobs, few of us were benched,
Yes.
and was not so good. And then I said, yeah, let me give it a shot. And things worked out. Yeah. So the current company is Integral Ad Science, and basically they, if I do put it in a layman's language, we help verify all the advertisements that go online. So the impressions that you put out there, the ads that you put out there, we make sure that, if an ad was actually viewable, if somebody actually saw it, was any sort of fraud, like, is there any bot trying to click on these ads? Is it actually safe for the brand? If there are, XYZ brands, let's take an example. If there's, I don't know, Nestle, is Nestle showing up against some news that it doesn't want to show up against, like, to something, and the, Nestle brand shows up, the, hey, check out the
Understood.
new Nestle milk, and you'll be like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, so we help with that.
Understood. All right. Well, The networking aspect though, the telecommunications and the engineering networking. I think I have a friend who works, well, actually it's a student
Okay.
who he works more on the physical infrastructure,
All right.
for telecommunications. So that has nothing to do with, that has more to do with construction actually.
Okay.
What I was involved in. So because he's like laying fiber optic cables all over Berlin and so on. But you also did engineering,
Yeah.
yeah, in that direction.
Exactly.
Yes. Would you be interested in probably exploring that again?
I mean, given the 10 plus years of experience in digital marketing, I would need to start with the basics, because if you ask me any questions related to telecom, I might just pass, like, just a couple of them. And yeah, this is me being honest. Like, there's no point in lying and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, definitely. Like, I know X, Y, Z. I mean, what I
Yes.
knew was like already 10, 15 years old because that
Yes.
was in the books. And in the last 10 years, we've progressed so much, so
Yeah.
much. So yeah, it's difficult.
Man, I have so many questions to ask you about digital marketing. I mean, you're ringing different bells now, yes? So, I'm here trying to organize and try to stay on track. However, it is something that I'm aware of. Right now, I'm also thinking about voice search is something that interests me a lot. And, I'm also trying my own little optimization in terms of the internet presence. I try my own little thing.
Okay.
If somebody, let us say, I'm aware of the fact that a story is written as to who I am as a person, as a trainer, as a podcaster. All the time, this story is being written by my computer, my
All
second
right.
computer, maybe my electronic cigarette at some point, my fridge, my bank card, everything is writing a story. And I decided a few years ago to be a part of this story writing. So
Okay.
instead of hiding from the internet, I opted to actively help to curate my own story.
Okay.
The reason why I do that is because if I meet a nice young lady in a bar one evening, right, and I would say, "Hello, my name is Akshay Patterson," and I will tell her only the truth, of course. The next thing she's gonna do, she's gonna say, "Excuse me." She goes to the bathroom and she asks Google who I am. And she will probably believe what Google tells her more than what I tell her.
True.
So the idea of digital identity is something that I'm thinking about it a lot. Some people opt to try to put as little data as possible online.
True.
I, on the other hand, say, all right, fine. The best thing for me to do is to help to curate my own story by putting stuff out there, actively taking ownership of this digital identity, which is mine. And my opinion is that if we don't exercise awareness and take ownership of this identity, then somebody else will.
True.
That is what
I
I
agree. I
think.
agree. And
Yeah. So.
I mean, I think the more information you put, the better the algorithms work. So you need to understand, like, there's always two sides to a story. You can use information for good, you can use information for bad. And it all depends on how this information is put into perspective. For example, you said, like, hey, I would like to, like, information to be out there, and so anyone who's searching my, I don't know, just my name, they see my blog, they see my podcast, they see a pic of me, and I'm okay with it. And to me as well, like, I think that's fine. I guess that's something that everyone should be okay with. But we need to understand, where does it stop, and that's when things get scary. I don't know how many of the youngsters have seen this Netflix series, The Social Dilemma, where they actually
I've
touch
seen
upon,
it,
like,
but I'm afraid to watch it.
yeah, it's
As a
so they actually show you how your information can be used for the wrong, because we all know how it can be used for the right. Like, you also don't want to be targeted by, let's say, ads, because I'm in that industry, so I can relate to it very well. I would not be happy being targeted with ads which I really don't care about. If I'm trying to get targeted with ads, it's something that means I really want to buy, but how much of information I'm willing to sacrifice to actually get these ads. It's like it needs to have a balance. And that is why digital identity should be left up to the person, I would say. How much information you want to share is great, beyond that, you should have the right to actually delete your profile or your info from whichever server, like, is online that's collecting. I'm not going to call out any specific names.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
But yeah, you if you have the power, that's when you feel more comfortable. The more of a black box, the less, like, say, people would trust. And we are seeing this also a lot of false information which is being sent across, because everyone can access the internet. And even the ones policing it have to prove that they're doing the right job, and they're fighting for the right side of things. And there's a lot of murkiness which is going on right now, a lot of false information. I mean, I also got hit by a lot of conspiracy theories in the last few months regarding the pandemic, and sometimes you just get fed up, and then you just, like, that's the reset button. That was a reset button for me. When I saw so much of bad things, I said, you know what, let me just switch off. I don't want to see the news. I don't want to go and read these conspiracy articles. I just want to, like, meditate. I want to go out, take a walk. I want to, like, cook. I want to sing. I want to, like, spend time with myself, maybe read a book, and get back to what I know I'm in control of, and not to see, like, negativity. And trust me, it's difficult, because you're in this business where you're seeing this every day, and you're helping clients to, like, be safe online, because their brand, needs to be protected. You're trying to also tell them how much of fraud is taking place, because these are bots that are clicking, and so on and so forth. So it's not like you can escape from it, but as soon as work is over, you need to switch off. Like, it's a switch on, switch off. And if you don't follow that, like, this entire topic of online identity or the digital identity keeps, like, lurking in the back of your mind, and, like, it's hard. It's really difficult to even get a good night's sleep on it.
It's hard. I mean, the whole notion of digital identity is more than that, even, because if you factor the possibility to do remote work into it, many of us who were probably at some point dreaming of coming to Europe, for example, for different reasons. I mean, I had my own reasons. However, experiencing new cultures and so on is something that you can do when you travel, which is one of the biggest, one of the most fulfilling aspects of it. However, with remote working, people equally qualified also in India. I know that India produces many great mathematicians and developers like yourself. And now there is access to these resources. I mean, I used to work at Rolls-Royce once, for 2 years I was there. Yes. Yes. And they saw, as somebody said to me, I can't say the company saw it that way, but and also others, other companies see engineering as a resource that can be outsourced. They need something developed, they need something solved, they send it to some developers very far away. They create a solution and send it back. It's a resource that can be outsourced. We're seeing that more and more now. With development and so on. So what I'm saying is this digital identity. There are people, for example, in some factories, we're not going to say only in China, but their only access, their only expression of life, their only contact to other people is through social nets. So the only place where they exist is through this digital identity, where they're in contact with friends and family. Other than that, it's just work in the factory. They eat there, sleep there.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So when I say digital identity, it's not just the traces we leave online, but it is this who I am in this new space.
Yeah.
Right? That is what I'm talking about. And the question really is, do we protect that by avoiding the internet, or do we actively help to curate this story? That is my question to you.
So yeah, I mean, it's a very good point that you brought up, especially with remote working. I would say now is a better opportunity for anyone and everyone who always thought, hey, I could be a freelancer. This is your time, right? This is the calling. And if you don't notice this, I'm telling you right now, this is your calling, because you can actually be anywhere within Europe. It doesn't really need to be in India. As long as you're in the same time zone, you're working the same hours, you can work from anywhere. And, like, a lot of big companies are also supporting the fact that you don't really need to be in the US to work for us. You can be anywhere in India. You can be in some country in Africa. You can be I don't know, on an island in Malta, for example, like, enjoying the nice sunny weather in Greece. It really doesn't matter as long as you're able to perform. And so coming back to, should I be helping to make the world a better place, the digital world a better place? Of course, because you can't escape the internet. It's become a part and parcel of life, and we need to accept it. Things have got solved because of the internet. People have gotten, like, more information. People get closer to each other. You have something in your hand, which is called your mobile phone, from which you can get the answer to almost any question. All you need to do
word
is
in our pockets, as I always say. Sorry.
you need to actually use it in the right way. Like, I know there are so many people who still call me up and say, hey, you know how to fix this, right? Because this is not working for me on the laptop. And I was like, you know how to post videos on Instagram and Facebook, so why don't you just ask Google? And they were like, yeah, you don't need to be mean about it. And I was like, no, I'm not being mean. The thing is, you guys need to understand self-empowerment. Use your skill sets, and don't forget that you have this, like, amazing thing called Google. You have YouTube that can teach you almost anything in today's day. So, make use of it.
Of course. That's another thing with the digital identity, and the thing is as well, what I'm saying is not, I don't really plan to run away from all of this at all.
Yeah.
It is just that many people, they're just not aware of the power, of the reach that this identity offers to them, right? There was a time when one time a lady called me and said, look at this CV, she wanted me to help her to correct it and prepare for an English interview. And she kind of laughed at the guy a little bit because he put YouTube as the source of his learning at the time. And she invited me to, laugh at this guy with her. But I don't think people do that anymore. Because YouTube is one of the greatest sources. I've learned so many. We're doing a podcast now. I have never had formal training in podcasting. We're speaking to the world,
Exactly.
right? And everything that I'm doing here now, I kid you not, it's self-taught. And self-taught meaning, yes, I found the source of knowledge that I need online by being active. So it's not about stepping away from it. It's living in this world that I refer to as the digital identity. And most people, they just use it for rubbish social nets, and that's very upsetting to me personally. But, to each his own.
No, but you've again brought up a nice point, because, like I said, you need to use your resources for the right reasons. And you have a lot of time, no matter how people put it. Some people say you have less time, some people say you have more time, but you have the exact amount of time that you need. All you need to do is be disciplined enough to, segregate your tasks. If you want to watch a few movies on Netflix, fine. Nobody's putting a gun to your head and say, hey, no, I need to be disciplined. I need to do this by the end of summer. No, that's fine. But make sure you're using the right resources, and you're also freeing up time to educate yourself every single day, because if a day passes and you've not learned anything, I think that's a day wasted.
It is.
And the digital way is like the easiest way, especially in the pandemic situation. Now everyone's on the internet. Zoom also fixed the bugs. Everyone is like, hey, we need better internet speed. And at first, everyone was fine with maybe even a dial-up modem at home.
I remember that sound. Maybe I tried to find it and put it on the show. Maybe I tried to find it.
Oh my God! But, I remember those days where I used to use a dial-up modem, and I keep telling myself we came a long way in the last 20 years. We came a long way. And you should be happy. You should be grateful. Think about the good memories, cherish them. But don't forget things that went in the wrong direction. I won't say bad memories, but things that went in the wrong direction. Because trust me, you cannot say something happened which was very bad. I always look at it from a spiritual perspective, saying that the universe wanted to teach you a lesson and you had to go through it. And that was a stepping stone. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is a very, very apt, let's say, phrase to put in there. You need to understand, if some things are not working out, try, give it your best. And if it still doesn't work out, that means maybe that's not the right way. You need to be looking in another direction, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I tried with online learning for quite a while, and as I've been doing it since 2014, and then now, I mean, yeah, it's lots of people are doing it, so I'm pretty okay with that right now. Remote learning, lots of people like you
Yep.
yourself. Mm, you're also happy because now we're, giving remote learning or remote working a chance. And also many people who probably dreamed of working for companies located in other countries, they can also do the same from where they are. They don't have
Yeah,
to. They
true.
don't have to go anywhere. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, everything has its time. Speaking of time, a minute ago you spoke about the 24 hours. I always say we all have 24, but you can't manage time, even though we love to talk about time management.
Yeah.
We all have 24. You manage priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a professor of mine mentioned that to me. And this is something we know, this is wisdom we
Mm-hmm.
have, but sometimes we need a reminder in life. In
Yeah,
life.
true.
Man, well, okay, I I try to put good value out there. I try to help people with
Mm-hmm.
these shows. You have been very giving in the things that you've said.
Uh-huh.
I really appreciate it, and I really hope we helped some people with the
I
two
hope so too.
questions. You spoke about your life and experience
Mm-hmm.
as an Indian in Germany. I thank you for that. We touched also on the idea of the digital identity, and
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty it for the day. We've covered the topics, but is there anything special? Maybe there's a
Yeah.
special message you want to send out to your family over there in Mumbai or your
I
friends.
mean,
I don't know.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to share this podcast with them for sure. But
Fantastic.
yeah, there is something which I would like to say. I know that once we leave the country, I have seen this personally with quite a few people, that once you like go to the US or come to Europe or any other country, you somehow tend to try and act like them, like the person if I've come to Germany, I would try to act like a German, and that's fine to a certain extent, but remember, don't forget your roots, right? Always remember who you are, because at the end of the day, that's something that will always be there with you, and don't try to give up on it. I've seen that a lot of students who come also from India specifically, and again, I'm not picking up a nationality, and my own nationality, of course not, but I've seen that with some students, the way they behave, and I keep telling them, hey, remember, you're in a different country, you know, respect everyone, respect everything around you, and try to behave, show people our true culture, show people why we were also considered one of the most let's say smartest people on the planet even back in the day.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we have to
be
talk
that
about the
voice,
old
right?
Sanskrit scripts. One of these days, maybe we can talk about that.
I wish. I mean, I wish I had learned Sanskrit. I know my dad tried to teach me, and I was like, oh, who's going to learn this language? It's so difficult. I'm not going to learn this. And today I'm like, yeah, I had the chance. I did not. But you know what? YouTube is there.
Yes, of course, of course, of course. Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I repeat what you said, hold on to your roots, know who you are. I've also seen that, they say, well, when in Rome, do as the Romans
Yeah,
do, but there's a limit to that.
exactly.
I can try to learn the language, be respectful of the culture to a certain point. Learning the language is probably the most important thing, because that in itself shows that you have some kind of respect for the culture enough to
Exactly. Yep.
invest time, because it's not easy to learn German. But at the same time, at the beginning as well, I did adjust my behavior for years and years. I didn't wear sneakers, for example, because I didn't want to look like a basketball player. I wore only buttoned up shirts, I shaved my hair and tried to look clean and neat all the time, and not like the typical, I mean, I love Bob Marley to death, yeah, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to, I don't want to look like Bob Marley. I don't want people to think that I'm Bob Marley, I mean, I might talk like him sometimes, but not everybody from Jamaica looks like that, or sings like that.
Yeah, that's like typical stereotyping.
Yeah, of course,
That always happens to me.
people push you into that.
Yeah,
People push you
I
into that
know.
sometimes,
I hear you.
and
I
and,
hear
and, and,
you.
and I pushed away from it. I tried so hard, as I said, no white shoes and so on. But after a while, you just recognize that, unfortunately, somehow, I will always be seen as another, which is not
Yes, I agree.
necessarily always a bad thing, as long as you have enough respect, from my experience, to learn the language and live within the culture, as well as also lawfully as well. That is enough. You don't have to, as auf Deutsch sagen wir, dich verstellen.
Yeah.
Like try to be something else, because it is actually quite ludicrous to
Yeah.
try to do that, or lächerlich, and it's actually quite sad, so that would also be my advice. Be respectful, learn the language first step, but don't forget who you are, because
True.
actually in this society, that's all you're really gonna be.
And especially if you have bad situations, make fun of it. This is the way I move around. I know when I met my wife, she told me, you're quite funny. And I don't think so my sis would agree or my mom would agree. But yeah, my wife told me, you need to start writing down, because this can be some good material, and maybe you can do a stand-up show when you feel it's right.
Yeah.
So I started putting down some stuff together.
Oh, really?
And some stereotypical things happen to us when we travel to Basel as well. I don't know. Are we good on time? or-
Yes, we're good on time.
Okay,
What
okay,
happened? I'm curious
So-
about what you wrote down, because I have a whole bunch of books. I don't, you can't see them now, but I have at least 20 books or so, diaries.
So I actually started writing these things down. We were in Basel, and there is this point where all the three countries meet.
Yes,
I think
yes.
Dreiland Ecker.
Oh, okay.
It's
Is
in
it Frankreich and
France, Germany, Switzerland.
France, Germany? Yes,
And
I've been there.
it's
I've been there.
superb. And we were on the way to Dreiland Ecker, and we saw this Indian guy, and I was like, "Oh, look, another Indian guy out here." And I was making fun. And she was also laughing out there. She was like, "Oh, you guys are everywhere." And I was like, "Yeah, of course, man, we're everywhere." And we were seeing, and I also told my wife, I think this guy is searching for an apartment, because he kept looking at the buildings and he's looking up and down. I said, maybe he's searching for an apartment. And she was like, no. And we walked just maybe 10 steps ahead. We saw this person approach us, Swiss guy, and he was like, "Hi," and he just said, "Are you like Krishnamurti?" And I was like, "No, maybe you're looking for that guy out there." And he was like, the other guy started approaching us, the Indian boy. He started approaching us, and he said, "Are you Krishnamurti?" And he was like, "Yeah." And my wife cracked up. She just cracked up, and I was like, "See, it's." I mean, I don't want to sound ignorant out here, but that was how it is. And I said we have to laugh about these situations, because
Of course.
that's how you can get through tough situations.
Yeah.
I won't say racism does not exist. It does, and I've gone through a couple of situations, but I laugh at it, because if you take it and you sit with it, you let it sink in your heart, it does not help anything. But make fun of it, have these jokes around it. Don't call other people racist, or don't make racist jokes, of course. But I believe in making fun of myself. If I can make fun of myself and I can make a person laugh,
Yes.
then I have achieved something, because I put a smile on your face whether I know you or I don't.
Yes.
That's superb. And this is what I was thinking. My wife said, you need to put this down. So we started writing down, and someday when I come out with it, it's going to be the name of the show will be When Chutney Meets Borscht.
When chutney meets borscht, okay. All right, fine.
So,
When chutney
yeah.
meets borscht, yeah.
And
I like that.
yeah, hopefully, I don't know, Ian, maybe in the next couple of years, because
We can try it
Yeah.
one day. You can test it out. I got a nice platform here. Let's see what the listenership from India.
yeah, we never know.
how they respond to this. But it's funny. You said it. Coming into new societies, of course, we've all been confronted with, for want of a better word, racism. But these days I don't even use that word anymore. I see it as just normal group behavior that you find everywhere. And it's always a question of power. Where the power lives and where it's
True.
perceived not to be. And apart from that, it's group behavior that many of us are also guilty of within our own little groups, whether
Yeah.
it be, groups of men, groups of women, groups of blonde women, groups of dark-haired women,
Yeah.
groups of gay men, groups of, gay women.
Yeah.
As we all have our little groupings, and we sometimes need to create these stereotypes, whether by accident or by design,
Yeah.
to help to categorize, to help to define ourselves. Sometimes racism comes towards you, or for want of a better word, group behavior
Yeah.
comes towards you in a kind of an aggressive way. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all, or has nothing to do
Yeah.
with me.
True.
It's someone else trying to define who they are, and unfortunately they need someone to help them to make the border.
Yeah,
But
and like for me, to be like, to say something about this topic, Ian, is like I've seen we have like this PC guys online, like, politically correct people on the internet, like, I think they just sit there on Twitter, on Facebook, and whatever the other, like, platforms are.
Yes,
And they start picking on people. Hey, you call this person black. Hey, you call this person brown. And like, you said XYZ to this person. And I was like, guys, put all kids in.
Just relax,
Yeah,
Just relax.
and
I
the
said
thing
to
is,
them-
like, I tell people everything, like, just imagine, put all babies in one room, let them grow up, and let's see what they talk.
Yeah.
And we make a big deal because we are telling our children, hey, we need to do this. Hey, we should look at this way. Oh, that guy is not rich. Or this girl looks like this. And that's where things go wrong. When you start telling your child what you think is right, that's where things go wrong, because the child should have a safe environment to grow up in, and should, like, he or she, like, needs to learn by themselves how they want to be, who they want to choose. Like, I wouldn't even, let's say, I've seen this also back home in India, where parents do not allow their kids to play with, like, we still have the caste system, unfortunately.
Yes, of course.
It's a topic which is very sensitive.
Classism is something that is very prevalent in the colonies for
Yeah,
some reason.
It also got more prevalent after the entire stuff with the British.
Yes, of course. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a prevalent way of seeing the world.
And it unfortunately never left. It kind of divided the country even further. I'm very, very happy to say that I have started to see a lot of progress in India, because people who start going abroad and coming back, setting up businesses, they have different mindsets. They also, even the young, the young students, or let's say the youngsters who are between 20 to 30, they would not define you for a person like of black, white, brown, or like, a North Indian, a South Indian. I mean, we have those jokes
Yes, of course,
to
of
keep
course.
us happy, but we don't mean that, like, hey, I look at you because of XYZ, and that's
define
what
a
you need to
person.
remember.
That's another reason why probably the digital identity is something that we should really be aware of and protect,
Yeah.
and help to curate on our own. Because, I mean, as far as I know, right there is no color,
Exactly. And
So,
people need to
it's a good thing.
understand that, like, we're all one, we all bleed the same. There's no blue blood coming out.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, I mean, and it doesn't hurt. Like, we can be so much stronger if we are together, and the world is realizing that now, especially with climate change and everyone saying, hey, you know what, enough is enough. We are not blind. Okay, I mean, some people are still like fighting the battle of climate change does not exist.
Yeah.
But for all the people who actually can see the truth out there and who can see what's happening, please do something about it. Like, I personally, again, I don't want to brag about this, but I personally donate every month some amount of money. I don't want to disclose this, of course. Some amount of money to growtrees.org, which is in India. And like, I have somehow supported with around 300 jobs by donating every month for the last few years. And that's one, it's helping Mother Earth, I would say. Second, is helping in some sort of employment back home in India, because I know, like, I have got a chance to go out of the country. Now it's my turn to do my bit and not just be a hypocrite
Yes.
and help people.
Yes. That is commendable. That's commendable. To be honest, I just eat less meat.
Which
That's-
is also
that's-
something
that's-
which you're doing
that's all I do.
for like the planet.
It's a
right?
small win. It's a small win.
Exactly.
And it's I appreciate the fact that we're touching on some heavy topics, and maybe we're gonna need another show for this.
Definitely.
Yes, because
Let's do this.
yeah, we can, but I mean, since we're talking about your experience also in Germany,
Yeah.
and I'm a foreigner, you're a foreigner, we're both from the Commonwealth, coincidentally. We're both native speakers of English, so I think we're understandable. As I said, the international
Definitely.
standard, international standard, yes. But coming to these ideas of the differences between people. What I feel really sad about is that, of course, I've come across group behavior of different flavors in this country. However, for the most, I am surrounded by good people. The people that I have met, the people who I stick around, the people who have stuck around, the people who've remained friends, and I'm in contact with all the time, who talk to me, and the people who are not afraid to call me a black man or feel anyway strange. I always have to invite people. Listen, you can say black, you don't feel strange about it. There's nothing bad about it. Just say it. Yeah,
that's the problem you feel with the PC that happens online.
It's so strange. It's to look. I am black. Yes, I am black. You can say it. It's fine. It's not a bad thing.
I want to say something about my wife.
No, hold on. All I want to say is I feel so bad sometimes. Because I know only, I would say, the people I know, the people I interact with are all good people, and I feel bad for them because they feel so pressured sometimes.
How to
when
behave.
there is normal human group behavior that comes in different flavors. As I said, it's always just a question of where the power lives and where the power is perceived not to be. And even you said it yourself in India, there's still the caste system. In Jamaica, there is still the classism. There is this color thing going on as well, and all of that is connected somehow to the colonial past, which is it's still pervasive there, and that's kind of sad. But most people have their own little ways of grouping people and categorizing. It's just another group behavior.
Yeah, true. And it's again about perception, how we take it. If you speak to somebody innocently, I'm going to understand. Like, I remember when I met my wife, I asked her, like, oh, so she's Ukrainian, and what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, right? In the last few years.
Yes.
Something which is really terrible, unfortunately. And I was like, so Russia, right? And she was like, excuse me? I was like, what do you mean? She was like, would you like it if I call you Pakistani? And I was like,
oh yeah, stimmt. I have to be careful of that. I have to be very careful of that.
I was like, it's fine because you don't know me, so it's cool. And she was like, oh no, it's not. And I was like, okay, so it's a sensitive topic. And then I understood, because when you don't understand someone, or you don't know that the person has gone through pain, suffering, because the people have got suffered. So it's a definitely sensitive subject. But once you understand, like, hey, it's supposed to be like this, then you respect it. You got to set your boundaries. You got to have respect. You got to also demand respect from people who think it's okay to get away with it.
Yes, of course. For example, you speak of history, you speak of pain. There are some words that I would not use on the show. Sometimes when I hear people say words that have history, I might respond by saying, well, we all have our N words, don't we?
Yeah.
And there are some words that you can avoid because they have history. It doesn't matter if these words don't really mean a lot in your culture, but that's one bit of advice I would give to foreigners hoping to come here. You have to be mindful of sensitivities such as that. Read a book. Yes.
Yeah, do your research. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos on the different cultural myths. So, like, you'll find the word multiculti, which means multicultural. Berlin is super, super famous for that, because it's a mixing bowl of Europe. So, like, plenty of people coming actually across the globe, coming to Europe and settling down. Artists from different regions. Now, even businesses want to settle in Berlin because they're seeing that it's a mixing pot. And everyone needs to respect each other. And that's happening to, let's say, a great extent in Berlin. But maybe it doesn't throughout Germany. Like, I have...
not yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's let's say it's a developing factor, because the younger crowd doesn't really care about, where you're from, what you do, what's your skin color. They don't really care. All they care is, like, you have to be a good person. I need to trust you. I need to, hang around with you without feeling insecure. Let's put it that way. And I met so many friends, and we've had, like, such a lovely time. Like, people from Spain, people from Italy. One of my best friends is from Poland. Like, so it's a mix of cultures, and everyone's like, hey, so in Indian, can you speak in Indian? I was like, that's not a thing, right? Because
There are
we
how
have
many? How
we
many?
have, I think so, officially around 200 languages, but
200
unofficially I
languages.
would say at least 1,000.
Yeah. Oh my God.
know?
That is
Um,
unbelievable.
And also another thing is like people say Hindi is the national language, but it's not.
What is the national
We
language?
don't have a national language technically. So
Okay.
if you look up on Wikipedia as well, and again, like, I might be wrong out here. Maybe things have changed, but definitely not. So when somebody says, hey, I don't understand Hindi, although he's from my country or she's from my country, I don't look down upon them. I said, it's fine. Like, do you understand English? Because more or less you will get around with English in India. Like, even through the villages, somehow somebody knows a little broken language, and that's more than enough to get around. Like, you want to meet the real people, you want to see how they live, you want to eat the food, because I'm a complete foodie.
Oh yeah.
I've traveled across Europe to quite a few countries, and every time, like, my wife and I, we've gone across countries, we've tried to meet some locals and eat, like, the cuisines out there and understand what's really good, and do our own research before we go to a specific city to see, hey, like, I should try this in this restaurant, like, see the reviews and find out, like, these hidden places maybe which are there, and like which are local areas. So yeah, always get to know people through food.
Yes.
Because that's one language everyone speaks.
Oh, definitely, definitely. You know what? Okay, I thank you so much for having taken the time to come over. I have already also threatened to subject you to my version of curry. Yes?
Yes,
and
I
it
do remember
will
that.
happen.
It will happen.
It
It'll
will happen. I do have a fantastic version of curry.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fantastic version of some Jamaican stuff that I also make here.
All
I don't
right.
know if you can do spicy, but one of these days, did you say you're a vegetarian? No, not yet.
I prefer to eat vegetarian since the
Yes.
last 6-7 months, and I've also changed my diet to just 2 meals a day,
Oh, okay.
which is
It's not
which is
bad.
quite healthy.
It's
in
not
fact.
bad. It's
So,
good.
yeah, I mean we can keep it to, I don't know if you want to have chicken or something. I'm also
Yes, man.
down for
Chicken
some
is my specialty. Yes. So what I mean, let's leave it at that, because
Yeah.
I mean that is definitely one of the few things that I do very well. So
And maybe I can get you not something which is Indian, but I make really good tiramisu, and this I have got compliments from Italians, so I would really take it
Okay.
in the highest aspects, because if an Italian says, oh man, this guy can make some tiramisu,
Okay.
you need to have
All right,
a
fine.
nice whisk of it as well. So,
Fine.
I'll do that.
Then it's a deal. Then it's a deal. Then it's a deal, because right there we have Italy, we have India, we have Jamaica.
perfect.
Right? And that's
Like
that's
Basel all
three-
over again.
Three is a, yeah,
Oh my god.
three is a good number. Three is a good number, and I think 1 hour is a good time. So you know what?
Perfect. Yeah.
Thanks again, man. And yeah,
Thank you so much, Ian, for having me.
I do wish you all the best, man. I feel as of right now I'm actually having a slight goosebumps moment because yeah, it's true. You can do it.
Yeah, I can
It's
see it,
almost
actually.
gone. Yes, good. So we actually touched on the topics. I had just 2 questions for you, and you were generous enough to go into much more than that. And this is the exact kind of giving, this is the kind of lived experience
Yep.
that I want to share with the learners. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. Awesome.
With a small win is always a good way to begin. Check out the show notes for this episode at www.trainingtree.de/podcast or englishcoachpodcast.com. Like it if you like it, and if you don't, lie to me. Just kidding, but still, feel free to share it with a friend or keep it all to yourself. Give meaning to the things you think about the show by using the feedback form to tell me personally what you think. Follow the show only if you feel like, so you know when there's a new episode available. Thanks for listening. Looking forward to hearing from you, and bye for now. Okay, so